Hey guys, today shall be walking you through the screencast of the first milestone of the DevOps project. So, the diagram in front of you shows the architecture of our system. We have two VMs, each housing the Ansible and the Jenkins server. And we shall be configuring the Jenkins server using an Ansible script that runs on the Ansible server. And once the Jenkins server is configured, we should be spawning two VMs from within the Jenkins servers, one each to run and deploy the two applications, checkboxio and iTrust. And to achieve this, we also use port forwarding, which I shall talk to you later about. Now, I shall run the Ansible scripts to configure the Jenkins server. So the playbook that I shall be running now contains all the commands needed to configure the Jenkins server. So the first task copy involves copying all the synced VM files that contain the necessary information for deployment of the applications onto the Jenkins server. And now we move ahead to installing Ansible. And now we install VirtualBox on the Jenkins server, and we move on to installing MySQL and other required packages for the applications on the Jenkins server. And we move on to installing Jenkins. Once the Jenkins server restarts, we shall move on to installing other plugins needed by Jenkins for our building operations. And we set a default user for Jenkins. And once the plugins are installed, we restart the Jenkins server. And we move on to creating and building the jobs using Jenkins. And yes, as we can see, our Ansible script has succeeded. Now let's log into the Jenkins server. As you can see, the two jobs are lined up, and at this point where the mouse cursor points, you can see that the build executor status, which shows how much the building has progressed. And let's take a look at the checkbox application. And once we go into the console, we can see that it's still building. So our script has been structured in such a way that once the application is done building, Jenkins will trigger a post build script that will involve spawning a new VM and deploying the checkbox application on the new VM. As we can see, the building has completed and Jenkins has moved on to the post build task as highlighted here. And in the post build task, it goes on to execute the Ansible playbook that contains the various tasks needed to deploy a new VM and install the various dependencies and packages on the VM for the checkbox application to run. So the current task at hand is installing Node.js on the new VM being provisioned. And we go on to install MongoDB on the new VM with the IP address 192.186.90.90. And keep in mind, since we are deploying a VM inside another VM, we have used port forwarding so as to be able to access the guest port from the local host. And the port we have assigned for the new VM that is running checkbox application uses a port number 9000, and that's where we shall be logging in to view the application once it is deployed. and the post build task is completed successfully. Now we shall see if the checkbox application has been deployed successfully. As I told you about port forwarding, we shall log into the port 9000. And there you go. The application is up and running. And as you can see, you can go into the various parts of the application. Here you can take a sample survey. And as you can see, they show us how the application is designed. And so this is just part one of the milestone where we have shown you how iCheckbox has been deployed, and we have walked you through the application. The next link to the next part of the screencast will involve deploying iTrust on a similar new server that runs Apache Tomcat, and we shall walk you through the application in the next video. Thank you.